morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That's right. Thanks to my girlfriend, we're ranking It Ends With Us. It Ends With Us is a 2024 American romantic drama film based on the 2016 novel by Colleen Hoover, based on the relationship between her mother and father. We've got a good amount to talk about for this movie, so let's just jump right into the 10 essential aspects of a movie. First is plot. Does the movie follow a comprehensive story arc and is plausible within the world that has been created? Yes. I would say the plot of this movie, the story arc, is good. It's interesting. It's got a cool message. If done right, this movie could be really good. Unfortunately, there are some things that don't go great. Again, I've never read the book. I read a summary on Wikipedia of the book, and I don't know how different the character in the book is portrayed on the screen. But quite honestly, the main character, I didn't love her. She wasn't that good of a person or character, and that makes it hard in a movie that's really driven by emotion. You need to feel for this character, and especially if they're going to be in a relationship, it's going to be romantic, you got to like at least one of them, and hopefully you like both of them enough that really pulls the emotion and puts some good tense moments in scenes and lovey scenes and fighting scenes and anything you want. You're going to feel those emotions because you're tied to those characters. I didn't really feel that because I just didn't love the character that much. There's other problems to why I didn't love that. But based on the summary I read of the book, it seems like they strayed from the story slightly in different parts of the movie than the book, and I feel that made some holes. It made some holes in the plot that didn't tear the movie apart, but throughout the movie you're just going, why? That doesn't make sense. And I think I feel they were trying to lead up to something at the end that was kind of revealed it all and made you go, oh, I get it. But I didn't really feel that. I didn't think they executed that well, if that's what they were trying to do. So the plot of this movie, it's good, but it's definitely got some problems. Second is attraction. Does the movie have an interesting premise with a high entertainment value? It does. It's a movie that I would say is made from a book that has appealed to women, so I don't know if a lot of men are going to find it that attractive. I don't mind it. I really, I like a little romance every now and then. I don't mind that. I like a little, little romance going on. But this movie just wasn't doing it for me, and I feel it's attractive. The plot has a real pull to it that is interesting. It's a little curve. It's a little serious that I like, but the execution is where that might just stray. Third is theme. What message or truth is a movie trying to convey? Now, this is where that plot of this movie could have been really good. This is where this movie could stand out. If done right. Keywords, if done right. It's not. But it really does have a message of domestic violence. That's really the biggest part here. And maybe, it's also with that coming with some ideas of love and relationships, and how those should go, how they shouldn't go, how to handle yourself with trauma or current situations, how to handle yourself. But I feel they actually didn't even really hit on those things that well. I feel like that is the message that was probably illustrated in the book. Again, I don't really know all that well, but it seems like it was somewhat glossed over in this movie. And I think if they maybe hit on it harder and had some more scenes maybe concerning it, the movie seems to be about domestic abuse, and I would say there's less than 3, maybe 4 scenes that really showed some domestic abuse. I think that's interesting. I feel like maybe it should have been shown more, maybe more intense in the scenes that were shown. But the theme is interesting, it just wasn't done that well. Fourth is dialogue. Is there a real feel to the conversations? Now, this is where the movie really sucks. It's just bad. The dialogue in this movie is not good. It's so cringy. It's a movie that is supposed to be serious in a lot of ways, and I just found myself laughing because people would say things to each other that was just so cringy and movie-like, and it just took you out because you're like, No one says that. No one really says those things. It just wasn't done well and really took me out of the movie. Fifth is acting. Are the characters convincing? The acting, it's good. It's good and it's bad. It's not terrible, right? I mean, it's not like there's no talent there. I will say, I don't know if it's like this in the book, but the side like girl best friend character, she was so freaking annoying, and I don't know if I'm just alone in that, but I did not like her. But otherwise, the only weird thing is that in the book, the girl is like, I think she's 23 years old, and Blake Lively is, no offense, but she's 37. I think she's 37. She looks 37, and I hope that's not rude, but she did not. It seemed like the character was meant to be played by someone younger, and you could tell, and it was just a little weird. And the main love interest, he's 40, and I feel he's also supposed to be younger, and there's supposed to be this younger interaction, but instead it's two older people playing younger people. You can tell in this movie, it's weird. It's a weird situation. I will say, speaking of younger people, the flashbacks in this movie to when she's younger, they're good. They're really good parts of the movie, and actually the dialogue is better in those too. I think the actor and actress that played the most part in the flashbacks, they did a really good job playing the characters young, and maybe they just had better scenes, but I like that part. But when you go to the present day and the meat and potatoes of this movie, it's just all right, and I think that's partly because of dialogue, partly because it just didn't fit that well. 6 is cinematography. Is there a creative use of lighting, setting, and wardrobe to convey emotion? Now, in cinematography, I really harp on that emotion side, right? And this movie is supposed to be emotional. That is the real pull of this movie, and it just doesn't do it that well. And part of that is because of the acting. Part of that is because of the dialogue. I will say, I don't know. Again, I don't keep saying this, but like in the book, I don't know if they really describe her wardrobe. If she's supposed to be like this, cool, edgy, different looking girl, but in the movie, Blake Lively is definitely dressed like differently all the time, and she, is supposed to have this, interesting, different personality. But I just found it like really distracting, right? I mean, this movie, I feel it really should be pulling. It should be about the domestic abuse side of it, along with like a love relationship build up side. I found the wardrobes and stuff to just kind of be distracting and not really pull away from the point of the movie. So cinematically, it's just kind of a mess. 7th is editing, and this is all about the pace of the movie. The movie is 2 hours and 10 minutes long. Again, bad movies or rough movies, when they're long, it sucks. It's not good. And this movie's too long. It really is too long. I feel there's a lot of needless scenes. I feel someone who is a better director, or maybe just a better storyteller, could have had more emotion in less scenes, and instead they just had a ton of scenes with little emotion. I'm not going to act like there was no emotion in this movie. There are parts that are good, that aren't that bad, and you can feel it just because of the situation, but for the most part, you're not really feeling it, and it just drags on. It just keeps going and going and going. There's definitely several moments in this movie that I just thought, like, okay, when are we going to go somewhere? When is something going to happen? I just feel it took too long to get to certain points in this movie. And that may be because you're trying to follow the book, but really, I just think it just wasn't a good use of scenes. 8th is soundtrack. There's nothing special about this soundtrack. I mean, it's just like a very typical modern day music. Nothing crazy. 9th is directing. I think a director is in charge of the previous 8 aspects. He's got to narrow all those down, give it the stamp of approval, make a good movie. Now we got to talk about this guy, Justin Baldoni. This is his third movie. Okay, first he directed 5 Feet Apart, then Clouds, and then It Ends With Us. Now, okay, it's always weird. It's a little weird when directors cast themselves as a main character. It works. There's definitely times that it works, but it's an interesting thing to do. And I find it very interesting when the director casts himself as one of the main characters in a movie that's romantic. It's going to have a lot of romantic scenes, and he kind of like, he just casts himself as like a thirst trap. I don't know. It's just funny to me. It's just interesting to be like, oh, this character has to be super sexy, neurosurgeon, really smart. Maybe I should play that guy. I mean, it's just such a funny situation. It's okay. I will say it seems like there, from what I could read about how the movie was made, there's a lot of problems with the production of the movie, and it seemed like there was a lot of inputs at once. It seemed like a lot of people were trying to have a say in how the movie should go, and that's hard as a director. I feel it's hard to represent a film when other people are trying to be the director at the same time, and also you're coming off of a book, and so when you have people and things not meshing and people trying to put in their opinion, and you're trying to go after, you're trying to replicate a book, it's just kind of a recipe for disaster when it doesn't go well. It really doesn't go well. And so, I feel like I really can't put a whole lot of blame on him. I feel this movie's production was just a mess. So before I give him a judge as a director, I feel like I need to watch some of his other movies. 10th is Time. Does it stand the test of time? No, it won't. There's so many better movies that are romantic, and this one, the one thing that could have stood it out just didn't. They kind of dropped the ball. So no, it's not going to stand the test of time. It's not a good movie, and I don't think it'll ever be a good movie. Now for the ratings. Rotten Tomatoes critics gives it a 58. The audience gives it a 91. And IMDb gives it a 68. I'm going to guess this 91 is probably because there's a lot of book lovers who loved the book and watched the movie. I'm going to guess there's some bias there, and they're probably not people that watch a lot of movies, but it ain't a 91. It ain't even close. 68, 58, I still think 68 is high. I don't know what people are getting caught up in there, but I'd say a 58 is probably as close as I'm going to get. I'd probably get it in the mid-50s. It's such a average to below average movie. It's just not good. There's a lot of things that it doesn't do well. There's a couple things that it does well, but there's a lot more bad, so I'd probably stick it in that 50 to mid-50s range. Now for the rankings. For 2024 on the entertainment side, I've got it 10th out of 12 movies. It's going to be just below Ungentlemanly Warfare and above Borderlands. Ungentlemanly Warfare, it's in that category of movies I'll never watch again. And Ungentlemanly Warfare, I would probably watch that before watching this, just because it's just more entertaining. It's a little easier to watch. This movie, it sucks, it's long, and it's serious. I'd rather a movie that sucks, but sometimes they blow stuff up. And maybe that's just the dude in me, but that's what I would prefer. Borderlands, it is better than Borderlands. Borderlands is just it is so incredibly boring. I cannot express enough how terribly boring Borderlands was. The only thing that saved it was the style was kind of cool, but otherwise there's just nothing. There are some things that are a little interesting. At least the story is somewhat interesting. It's just not done that well for It Ends With Us. Now for cinematography, I've got it out of 12. I've got it 6, right dead in the middle. It's just below The Fall Guy and above Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. It's still a serious movie, and it still has some aspects of it that are serious. I mean, I feel like I've been dogging on it, but there are some parts of this movie that are still good. There are still scenes that do convey some emotion. And Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, it just has a huge plot hole and a couple problems with it, and then it doesn't really convey emotion that well. The only thing that's saving that is really just the fact that it had a whole franchise to it, and the world is interesting. So I feel It Ends With Us is better as a movie. It does a better job. It's still a coherent movie, better than what Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is. I have it below The Fall Guy just because The Fall Guy is more of an entertaining movie. It has a little bit of romance in it, but it's just done well. There's not many problems. And for me, that represents movies better. It's going to be a better film because there's not a huge problem to glare at. It Ends With Us, there's some big problems, and dialogue is one of those that I just hate, and it bothered me the whole movie. So to me, The Fall Guy is definitely going to represent film a little better. For the decade of the 2020s, it's going to be the exact same list. I have not done another movie outside of 2024 in the 2020s yet. For all time on the entertainment side, for 18 total movies, it's coming in 15th, just below Ungentlemanly Warfare and above Paranormal Activity Ghost Dimension. Same reasons why it's below it in 2024 for Ungentlemanly Warfare. I put it above Paranormal Activity Ghost Dimension just because this movie, like, again, movies I won't watch again. This movie, I guess I'm just slightly more likely to watch. Part of that is just scary movies. If they're really not scary, man, do I just pretty much never want to watch them ever again. This movie, I won't watch ever again, but there are just some savable aspects, so I think if I had to choose between the two, I'd probably just choose It Ends With Us. For cinematography, for a total of 18 movies, it's going to come 11th, 10th, just below The Whole Nine Yards and above Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. It's above Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes for the exact same reason as 2024. I put it below The Whole Nine Yards pretty much for the same reason for The Fall Guy. The Whole Nine Yards is an entertainment movie, but it just does it well. There's not a whole lot of problems there, and that to me represents film better. It's a movie that has less flaws, less glaring flaws, and this movie doesn't do emotion well enough to supersede that. That's all I've got for It Ends With Us. I think it's going to be probably kind of a long video. Let me know what you thought. Whether you thought this was a really good movie. If you've ever read the book, please let me know if this is anything similar to the book. How is it similar? How is it different? Did you like it? Did you like the book better? Make sure you make sure you subscribe if you want to see me review some more movies. Make sure you comment the next movie you think I should do. But otherwise, that's all I've got. I'm Mr. Majoritarian. Stay classy, San Diego.